Hi everybody, Father Bill Holzinger here, and this is your Friday reflection. I'm here in the backyard. You can see my, the bird feeder, that's hummingbird feeder, and my little St. Francis statue. And you might wonder, right back there, what is that? That actually is the pad or set of 3 bricks. They're actually pavers, round pavers, for my telescope. So you can kind of see them there. There's 1, 2, 3, and then center is where I put like my battery or whatever. And I kind of encompass it with some red brick to kind of keep it separate from the rest of the bark dust. So that's what I use sometimes when I'm offering or spending time doing my astronomy in the backyard. So that's where the telescope is usually at. St. Francis is kind of leaning over there, kind of just chilling out. He's blown over many times, so he's just kind of propped up there, hanging out. So, well, this last week, Father Dominic was offering a reflection on his discernment on whether he should have some cats. I'll give you to that. I'll encourage you to watch that video for yourself to get the full reflection. But ultimately, he decided he couldn't have cats because he was allergic to them, unbeknownst to him. Which then brought me to thinking about, gosh, there's been a lot of recently, at least in my circle of influence or people I love and share my life with, losses and joys with animals. And I think that's a difficult thing for us. It's weird how those are more difficult sometimes than our losses with human beings, right? Yeah, strange, but it is the case. Well, and I think it's because of the character of our animals. They are not fully culpable of what they do. They're working on instinct, where we as human beings, we are calculating, we are sinful, we do great things, but also we're complicated, and our animals are just not. So, ups and downs. I've been, just Sunday, I got together with my sister Marianne, and she's looking for a dog because her little dog passed away, maybe a month or so ago. And it's tough. I understand that, being a single individual, having a dog, and then when that dog passes away, the emptiness there. So she and I were looking at a dog up into the Washington area, and it was going well. I had hopes up, and we were going to make a fun trip with it, and it was a fun trip. But as we were then being introduced to this beautiful dog, very friendly to the owners, wasn't so friendly to us. And in fact, as she reached out to the dog bit her. Luckily, it didn't break the skin, but that's something that is kind of like that's not going to work. Especially, she's around other people. She goes camping. She'll be around my dog and other people. So, need a dog that's going to be friendly with people, young and old, and other cats and dogs. So as my sister and I then decided to say no to that particular option, there was a lot of hopes, and they were let down. But then a couple days later, some inquiries that she had over the internet, different pet sites, for shelter dogs or rescues, have come forward to her. And there was a point at which there was a dog that we were both looking like, this would be a great dog. And then, didn't happen. And it's a roller coaster ride. And then finally, as I video this, I think it's the case that she has been able to lock down, the adoption of a new dog. My question to us is, what do our dogs and our cats teach us? What does your dog or cat, if you have one, taught you? Some of that, hopefully, might be humorous. Some of it's kind of insightful. But I think there's some, especially, and I can only speak for dogs, not so much for cats, but cats, I can say they like their affection. They like their food and their water, of course. And they're a variety of personalities. Also is the case for dogs. In my case, I can say that, dogs have taught me what forgiveness is. Maybe they've done something wrong. They know they've done something wrong. And moments later after, I've kind of said something to the dog, trying to make it obey or direct it and put boundaries around the dog so that it wouldn't do something. The dog then, while it's feeling bad, turns around moments later and is doing fine. And again, I show the love that the dog needs, and comfort the dog if there's any issues, especially when they're sick. So what are we learning from this? What am I learning? I'm learning that unconditional love is a powerful thing, whether it comes from an animal or from a human being. Of course, human beings, that love is much more profound. But those of us who are not married, cats and dogs can teach us all kinds of things about companionship. I think that these animals kind of hone our rough edges, mine included. And for me also, Snickers helps me in ministry. No, he's not just for me, though he is a home pet, so that, there's somebody around, and it keeps me from being just a bachelor, just thinking about myself. I have to think about the needs of Snickers, taking him out, grooming him. There's other kinds of things, expenses that are part of that. But it also reminds me that I'm supposed to be giving of myself. And so because I'm a human being, and we all want affection, as a celibate person, that's an appropriate kind of affection, having a dog. Another thing to consider is our cats and dogs teach us about suffering and death. They may suffer, and we try to help them. We take them to the vet. We spend all kinds of hours trying to help them. And sometimes it works. Sometimes they're healed of whatever it is. But ultimately, and generally speaking, we humans live longer than our cats and dogs. And it's really hard to let go of our cats and dogs. But I think, and Snickers is my fourth dog, that it's a lesson for me. It's a lesson for me to suffer with the dog as it's having pains, but also then to know when to say goodbye and to mourn the death. There's a silence. In fact, sometimes after the dog has passed on, I will sometimes even hear the jingle of their collar, but there's no jingling of the collar because they're not there. They're not at the house. It's not at home with me. But it's one of these things I call death by 1,000 needles. All the familiar haunts. There's the dog dish. There's the cat bowl for you if you're a cat person. There's all these things. There's the kitty litter box. And then if you don't have a cat, why do you have those things, right? Those are reminders. And there's like, oh, that's right. They're not here anymore. We need to learn how to suffer with, because this is going to happen with our loved ones. And of course, suffering in itself isn't a good unto itself. But if we allow God into it, then it becomes grace. It expands our heart. It allows us to love more. And some of us may recoil and choose and said, no, I'm never going to do this again. That was just too painful. I get it, but it might offer a challenge. That it is better to love and then lose than to never love at all. Because a life without loving, and this applies for people, right? If we never love anybody, what life is that? It's a sick life. It's a disturbed life, not just a lonely life. That can be dangerous for our soul because we're not meant to be alone. Even as a celibate, I need to be with you. I need to be with parishioners. I have a dog at home, so there would be no loneliness, but it's also a dog and a creature that teaches me the truths about life and death. Remember, Christ has come to save us. And our suffering and death isn't the end all. I say this because I'm healthy right now, but even when I've been suffering, I remember having kidney stones. Those were really, really painful. And it took all I could with God's grace to bear through it. But I'm thankful that God was with me the whole way. There's so many more things to say. I'm going to leave it at that. What is your dog? What is your cat? What are your animals teaching you? Don't let that get by you, because there's something God wants to teach you through them. This weekend, Father Dominic is going to be offering the homily and talk about difficult gospels once again. Last week I asked you to pray for me. I'm going to ask you to pray for him because, again, we have another set of difficult readings for different reasons. I won't get into that. You can read ahead on your own. But just pray for him so that he would be able to reflect well and help speak to us during the homily of this weekend the things that we need to hear that will help our hearts and help our minds, help our souls, and help us to salvation. God bless you all, and I'll see you this weekend. Bye-bye.